The public welcome will be held in Auckland tomorrow for the country's Paralympians who arrived home this morning. Among the fairy tale stories from Rio was Sophie Pascoe, who became the country's most decorated Paralympian ever with 15 medals now, including 9 golds across 3 Olympics. And while Sophie was already a household name, Liam Malone has sure become one. Our very own Blade Runner broke 2 of Oscar Pistorius' sprint records, winning 2 golds in the 200 and 400 metres and a silver in the 100 metres at his very first Paralympics. An extraordinary record. Liam arrived home this morning, as I said, and is joining us now on the phone. Hi, Liam.
Hey, how you doing, John?
Oh, well, I'm good, but I haven't had the kind of adventure you've had. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm adjusting to reality. My car broke down in the New World car park again. So it's back to being a broke student, mate.
Are you a broke student? First of all, can we talk about the kind of support you get as a Paralympian? Are you able to train full time, for example?
I wouldn't be able to without the support of my dad. And so funding is based on performance-enhancing grants. So, for example, it's determined on how you did the previous year in a key event. So, if you do really well, if you get a placing, first place, you get $60,000, and then it kind of scales back from there.
So, wait a sec. So, you got 2 first place. You got 120 grand, or am I just getting carried away there?
Mate, you're getting carried away. It's a 60 grand it's only 50 grand for 1 gold, and if you get 2 golds, it's 60, and then it doesn't go any further than that.
And so your dream now is what, Liam? I mean, I'm so sorry, because actually you should just be able to sit there and think to yourself, I'm the man, for a few weeks before people start asking you what your dream is. Well, you won 2 golds and a silver at the Paralympics. And, you know, the 100, the 200 and the 400 are serious glamour events. And you were the best in the world at 2 of them and second best at 1 of them. It's remarkable.
Thank you very much, John. You know, I certainly appreciate that. And to get to that point, I really, really had to just kill myself at training day in, day out. And for 2 years, I trained by myself in Wellington. My coach is involved with rugby, and so he was based in Nelson and then overseas. So, you know, it took a lot of courage to train day in, day out and stay disciplined and trust the process. And eventually I made it.
Yeah, let's pick up on one of those words, discipline. How old are you?
22.
Yeah, so you started doing that. You started training that hard, when you were 19 or 20, right? Really hard, really devoting yourself to it.
I tell you what, learning to be disciplined is the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah, I bet. Because I think there's a bit of a sparkle in your eye, right? So you would have to set that sparkle aside and train and train and train. And as you say, you were doing it alone, a lot alone. And so what were you working on? Obviously, you were working on strength and speed, were you? How were you training?
So training's based into certain blocks. And so, for example, in the winter, you have kind of like your big, heavy training blocks. You have these big, long, tough running sessions, your big, heavy weightlifting sessions. And as you come closer and closer to your season, your training tapers off and you do more kind of fast, kind of speed workouts. But for 2 years, I had a previous coach before I kind of joined James Mortimer, who I've been with for the last 8 months, and you know, I pushed him to write me programs where I just run and run and run. I felt like I just needed to. I was basically overtraining for 2 years, but as an outcome of that, I built a massive gas tank, and then so I had this incredible, you know, aerobic fitness. And then as soon as I met James, we just have basically just been putting in an accelerator to that over the last 8 months, and it's just worked out perfectly.
And Liam, forgive me for interrupting, but I'm really interested in the gas tank. Was the gas tank with the intention of doing the 100, the 200 and the 400? Was that the idea?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, even if I didn't think I was going to do that well, I'm going to the Paralympics. I may as well get as much as much bang for my buck. May as well do all 4. And even if I bombed out on the 4, then so what? You know? That was my initial thoughts when I first got into the sport. I had no idea whether or not I was going to be fast. It was all very risky. You know, getting all this investment from the New Zealand public where I didn't know whether or not I'd make it. But I just had to do it.
You see, you have this wild hairdo and this big cheeky smile, and so, but in a way, you don't judge the book of you by the cover of you, because you are singular, willful and determined, aren't you?
Yeah, I like to describe myself that way, but I mean, I make mistakes as much as the next guy, you know. Some weekends I'll go out and I'll eat fast food and, you know, I make mistakes as much as everyone else, but overall I'm those things.
Yeah.
And that pulls you in the direction more than anything else.
So, which raises the question, how the hell did you know when you started training and set the sparkle in your eyes aside and said, no, you can't go out and be a rascal age 19. You've got to be disciplined. How did you know that you could be this good?
Look, man, I just wasn't having that much fun when I was 19. So my mum passed away the previous years, I'd explained, and I went over to Australia and I tried to escape it all, and I ended up in a bad environment that wasn't really good for mourning the death of your mother. Then I went to university, which is very much a lifestyle of partying. Again, that's not exactly how to overcome, you know, I was depressed, but not kind of clinically or due to some sort of chemical imbalance. It was just post-morning, basically, but I was definitely in a state of depression. And so I wasn't having fun, and so I just had to find something that would be fun and an overriding goal to bring me out of that. And goals absolutely kind of saved my life in that respect. And I just knew that I'd do well because I was willing to work at it. You know, and if I had to, I would have worked. If I had to have worked 12 hours a day, John, I would have worked 12 hours a day. No one was going to outwork me in the last 3 years.
Yeah,
and I joke around a lot, but that's just the truth.
Yeah, that is the truth. One final question, and we really appreciate your time and welcome home. Have you heard from Oscar Pistorius? Because and I know this is a complex issue because he is, you know, a convicted murderer, but he was also the standard, wasn't he? You broke his records. Have you heard from him since?
No, I haven't heard from him. I have no idea whether or not he watched the games or anything. But yeah, he certainly set the standard in terms of what was possible. But yeah, no words from Oscar. I haven't heard from him since he stopped going on. Since he was in home detention and his court kind of case started up again, I haven't heard anything from him.
Well, you are the man, Liam Malone, and congratulations. And you've inspired a whole lot of people. And you should feel really proud of yourself. Thank you for joining us, Liam, and really well done.
Thank you very much for your time, John. I think you're an awesome guy.
Yeah, well, the feeling's mutual, brother. Liam Malone.